Hi, this is Mr. Kays, and we are talking today about the Cold War. The Cold War, and how it's continuing to divide the world. In Chapter 33, we're seeing Communist China fall, or become established. We see Korea, South Korea being attacked by North Korea, North Vietnam attacked by South Vietnam. The Cold War continues to divide the world. The United States and the Soviet Union are the superpowers, and they are referred to as the first and second world, respectively. US and USSR superpowers are referred to as the first and second world, respectively. So what's the third world? Well, the third world are developing nations not aligned with either superpower. Not aligned, A-L-I-G-N-E-D, not aligned with either superpower. They stand alone. Why do they do that? So they can take aid from both the US and the USSR and not feel like they're obligated. They're non-aligned nations. Many of them in the third world were non-aligned nations. Independent nations, neutral in the Cold War era. Independent nations, neutral in the Cold War era. As we take a look at a communist nation that comes to power in the Western Hemisphere, it was led by Fidel Castro. Now, he's the communist dictator of Cuba. Communist dictator of Cuba. Just 90 miles south of Florida is the island of Cuba, and it's going to fall to Castro, communist dictator of Cuba. He overthrew Fulgencio Batista's government. Batista's government. And you can put down that was pro-US. Pro-US. So Castro is not a friend of Batista's government. In fact, Castro served some time in a jail for trying to overthrow the government. Now he's leading a rebel force, and he's going to succeed in overthrowing Batista's government. When he becomes dictator, he nationalizes industry. That's a nice way of saying he takes over industries. The U.S. sugar and U.S. tobacco companies lost their companies. Castro took them. He nationalizes industry, provided education and health care to Cubans. Provided education and health care to Cubans. And of course, people are going to love him for that. When you have nothing to begin with, one looks pretty good. He tolerated no opposition. Tolerated no opposition. He only had one party, and that was the Communist Party. And he was supported by the USSR. Supported by the USSR. Cuba even repelled an invasion at the Bay of Pigs. They repelled an invasion at the Bay of Pigs in 1961. That is in the southern part of Cuba, a beach where U.S. trained expatriates of Cuba wanted to go back and take over. Well, as they landed on the beach at the Bay of Pigs, they were cut down by machine gun fire and tank fire from Castro's army. He must have been tipped off, but it was a failed attempt to knock off Castro. Well, when we come back, next time we're going to talk about problems in Nicaragua and problems in Iran. This is 33.4A in Mr. K's. I'm out.